Greetings all, and welcome to this stream of Elite Dangerous. I am Father Bill, a Roman Catholic priest and a streamer. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Thank you for joining. Today we pick up where we left off yesterday, building up HIP 53051. Hey Aseni, good to see you. Welcome. Sorry for the slightly delayed start today, but I had to get some more sleep. I hit snooze one too many times on the alarm clock. But we're going to jump into the ship and do some work to help build up HIP 53051. Probably do some commodity runs to get merits to help get this system fully into Mahon's control. Again, thanks to all for joining. Let's jump into the ship and let's get to doing.
Welcome back.
Should be getting in the game any second now. Stutter again. Hey, Primal Scientist, good to see you. Welcome.
All systems prepared.
Still haven't figured out a name for this ship. See what's going on with the faction first. If there's anything that needs my attention here. Doesn't look like it. So this ship can carry 354 tons of cargo. Let's go get a load of power play materials.
Landing lock disengaged. Your way is clear to depart.
That's why it runs so cool.
travels, Commander.
Ready to engage. 4, 3, launching system 1. Warning, temperature critical.
We'll drop off at the Stronghold carrier here, pick up some materials, and head back to HIP 53051. Probably do this a couple of times and then jump into my mining ship and do a little bit of mining. Hopefully between that and this, get the system tipped over to control. I'm doing very well, Delta Spectra. Welcome in. Hopefully the Stronghold carrier isn't as busy today as it was yesterday. Couldn't get a place to land. Busy enough. Hey, Grandizer, welcome back. Yeah, unfortunately, because my internet has been having problems the last couple of days, I haven't been able to be back on YouTube. But it looks like it's working this morning.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
Yep, on Sunday, the first Mass, the weather was bad, but it wasn't horrible. But after that Mass, the snow started falling very rapidly. So I'm glad I called off the 10:30 Mass and just did that one virtually for folks to catch it on the internet. Yep. That Sunday, last Sunday, in our diocese, we celebrated the Feast of Epiphany, which normally happens on the 6th of January, but so that more folks can participate in the celebration of that day, when the Lord Jesus Christ was open to the world through the three Magi, we celebrated on the Sunday before January 6th. And to close out the Christmas season, we will celebrate the baptism of the Lord this Sunday. Which officially closes the Christmas season. And begins ordinary time. Yeah, I guess the Orthodox do celebrate Christmas on January 6th, which makes sense to a certain extent. With the Epiphany being the day that the Magi presented gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Sure. Good questions. That unfortunately there are no clear answers, but whoever they were and whatever authority they had heard the stories of the Jewish Messiah when Israel was in the Babylonian exile. So they either came from the area of the Babylonians, the land between the rivers, which is current-day Iraq, or possibly the Persian Empire successors. Beyond that, I'm not sure we have anything clear. Yeah, sometimes teachers don't get actual intellectual curiosity. They just want you to learn the way they want you to learn. Good-heartedly, they do, because they only have a limited amount of time to teach what they have to teach, what they need to teach. Let me put it that way. And some kids are masters at deception. They don't want to do something, they can trick their teacher into doing whatever they want to do rather than the coursework they should be doing. Not saying you were that type of kid, but I know kids who were that way. And I knew the teacher's response to them when they figured out what they were doing. Well, maybe in another year I will do it that way. This year I kind of went on the whole authority thing. You know, what authorities do we listen to? Especially this year I needed to do that because of the goofiness of politics in the world. Doesn't matter what nation you live in, our politicians are goofy. And that's as far as I'll go with a political speech. Could very well be, because the Somalis would have heard the stories of the Jewish Messiah from the Queen of Sheba, who was from that area.
Facility, Commander. Hope we can be of service. Approval granted. Head directly to docking bay 3-3.
Actually, Josephus is one of the places where we get confirmation that Jesus Christ lived and died in Judea. His writings went back to the time of Jesus. It was after
Contact confirmation. Pad restraints engaged.
a lot of it was, though, after the Roman reconquest of Israel, after the rebellion. Back to Alioth.
Landing lock disengaged. Exit is clear.
Scan detected.
Well, at least you can't make a force grip on me over the internet, then.
You are now clear of station restrictions. StarCon looks forward to receiving you again.
3, 2, 1.
It was bad enough, Grandizer, but thankfully, during my stream yesterday, we had folks who cleared the parking lot and all the sidewalks around the church. We hire out to a service to do that, and they got to us yesterday. So I was actually able to get out and do some stuff that I needed to do after my stream yesterday, which was a big one for me. I celebrated my 4th anniversary as a partner on Twitch.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Gotcha, Grandizer. Understood. I actually took a course in college on good and evil and read some stuff about angels and demons, if you will. It was an interesting course, although not exactly what I thought it was. You've heard of the term clickbait, I'm sure. Well, the title of the course was clickbait. The professor wrote up the description of the course such that you came in expecting one thing and then he gave you something entirely different. Interesting, but not exactly what I had bought into by taking the course. It was what it was. I actually read some good stuff. The Screw Tape Letters, Peter Kreeft's book on how evil exists in the world. There was some good stuff I learned in that course, but it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. A little bit, Dulcimeris. Course clickbait. One thing I do know is that when he told us what the course actually was, about a third of the class dropped it. I decided to stick around and see what he had to say. At least that's my memory of it. So yesterday, one of the errands that I had to run was taking back some bits and bobs that didn't work to Micro Center. I'm lucky enough to have a Micro Center next door in St. Louis, Missouri. And I picked up a refurbed 3050 that I'm going to put into our streaming computer over at church, so that I can use RTX's NVIDIA broadcast to eliminate noises that we don't want to hear from words, the spoken word or sung word that I do want people to hear. Yeah, Grandizer, that's exactly it. The Screw Tape Letters. That was one of the books we read. I don't remember the entirety of the book, but I do remember I thought, wow, what a story. As did I. That course I took my junior year, I think. So 92. My memory, it was a spring course. Dulcimerist, it was much better than what I thought of when he told us what the course was going to be like. And we actually talked about he threw us a bone in that we talked about the exorcism that had taken place at DeBerg Hall, the administration building at St. Louis U, before they moved to the Alexian Brothers Hospital. They started the exorcism at DeBerg Hall and then moved to a former hospital that had since been torn down. And that was the exorcism upon which The Exorcist was based. Grandizer, I took a course at seminary that was based on The Dark Night of the Soul. That was a hard book to get through. Excellent book, but a hard one to get through. You really had to spend some time with it. Wasn't something that, like I was used to, where you could read through it and give a synopsis very quickly. We spent an entire 2 quarters at seminary, so an entire semester going through that one work. The rector of the seminary taught us that information. And the answer to that, Grandizer, is no. I've met people who were messing around with spiritual things that they shouldn't have been messing with. That's for certain. But no, I've never encountered an exorcism.
System scan complete.
I was really lucky to get into that course at the seminary because he only taught it to a select few. You really had to want to take it to be able to talk your way into that course. He taught one section every year. It was one of the most popular courses at the seminary. The teacher expected it, Dulcimerist, that people would drop the course. Yeah, when he handed out the syllabus and showed you the books that you were going to read, he knew he was going to lose some people. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad because we went from an overcrowded classroom to one that was comfortably full, where you could talk about the things that were mentioned in the class and not worry about, am I taking too much class time for this? I wish I could remember the name of the professor. He was a Jesuit priest. But beyond that, I can't remember what his name was, unfortunately. I remember two people from the faculty at St. Louis U, where I attended college. No, I just thought of a third one. These were the teachers who had the most effect on me while I was there. Father Bob O'Toole was one of them. Professor Jose Sanchez was one of my history professors. And Professor Bill Miller, who was my faculty advisor in the history program. Tremendous, tremendous men of deep intellect, and in the case of Bill Miller and Father O'Toole, deep faith. Not to say that Dr. Sanchez wasn't the same, he just didn't talk about it as much as Miller or O'Toole did.
StarCom welcomes you to this facility, Commander. We'll put a landing pad on hold for your arrival. Request approved. Proceed to landing pad 1-8.
You're never quite sure what people are going to see in those moments. But could she have seen that? Sure.
Speed restrictions are in operation within the facility perimeter.
I do not remember her. That's not a name I'm familiar with, but I'll look her up.
Landing confirmed. Ground crew dispatched. Archon wishes you a good journey.
Proceedings 2, 1.
Like I said earlier, Grandizer, I'm certain that experiences that people have like that are authentic to them and have some truth that we need to learn. So I could see that being popular among folks, a book written from that perspective. Whether it's all true or all factual, God alone knows. But that it's true, I have no doubt that she experienced that. But no, I had not heard of her.
Proceedings 2, 1.
Dulcimerist, yes, I've been there. When I was a kid. My dad stopped when we went to the Pacific Northwest and all points in between. He stopped at every Jesuit mission that we stumbled across during that trip, on the way out and on the way back. I was quite annoyed as a kid because I wanted to get to the next thing. But every Jesuit mission we stopped at, we got out, prayed the rosary, and then went on from there. Understood, Grandizer. Oh, neat, Dulcimerist. Grandizer, thank you for the compliment, but no, I'm level 53 this year. But as I've said once, and I'll say it many times more again, I may get older, but I'm never getting old. My good friend Obo, who since passed, said, getting older is just a hallmark of living. And I have to agree with him. He died late last year, and I miss him. Thank you, Grandizer. Yep, he was a regular here in Twitch chat. Served as a Navy corpsman. Was injured in Fallujah. Just an all-around good person. But he died amongst the people he loved, so that was a good thing. And all his critters. Man was a practical St. Francis in his relationship with critters. And the amazing thing that he did for me before he passed, he knew I'm a space nut, always have been. And he had been collecting mission badges since the Gemini days. He sent me all of his mission patches from Gemini 7 onwards that he had collected. I got it in the mail the week after he passed. So it was one of the last things he did. Those patches mean a lot. In fact, I've got a leather jacket that has some patches on it that I'm going to get a number of those patches sewn onto it. Take off the ones that are there and put on the ones I got from Obo. No, he was in his 60s. I want to say he was 65 when he passed. So about 12 years older than me. But like I said, he knew he was getting older, but he wasn't getting old. He still played MWO and things like it.
That's a negative.
Yep, Dulcimerist, you're absolutely right. I am grateful to him for what he did. And every time I look at those patches, which are in an envelope with his name on it, hey, Kintail, good to see you. Day is going well, thank you. Other than being a little dry this morning, I'm doing well. Which reminds me.
the stream. Comstar now has all of your personal information.
4, 3, 2,
Fryzon, ready? Fryzon, thank you for the follow. I'll tell you, I'm sure that was a neat one, but the mission patches I'm after right now are the ones for the integrated flight tests down at Boca Chica, Texas, soon to be Starbase, Texas. IFT 7 is in 3 days. I'm looking forward to that, let me tell you.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I remember Capricorn 1. Oh yeah, I watched it a long time ago. That was one of those movies they played on early days of, I think HBO is what we had at the house. Back in the early days of cable. Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking, I didn't say it out loud, but a lot of the fake moon landing folks look at Capricorn 1 and say, yeah, look at that movie, that's what they did. No, it's not what they did. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has actually seen and imaged different landing sites of the Apollo missions. And you can see the first stage of the lunar module. Still on the ground. Happy New Year to you, Silent Sniper. Thanks for joining. Gotcha, understood. Grandizer. Understood, Grandizer. January 10th is going to be a big day then, because that's the next IFT launch down at Boca Chica. They'll be flying a second generation Starship with the next generation booster. Going to be interesting. See if they can catch the booster again. No, treason, what that means is that you're going to find much less, it's been overmined. So you'll find less of what you're looking for. There'll still be stuff there, but it will be low percentages. So you generally don't want to mine in a depleted ring.
StarCom welcomes you to this facility, Commander. We'll put a landing pad on hold for your arrival. Approval granted. You are cleared on pad 37.
No, not depleted. Typically that's in systems, older systems, that they have depleted. Like this one that I'm going to go mining in next has common reserves. So it's not, you know, heavily populated, but it's got decent amounts of minerals and materials.
Touchdown successful. Ground crew dispatched.
What are you after, treason? See where we are after yesterday. Oh, so close to being fortified. Figured out a name for this ship. Yeah, understood. Understood. Yeah, depleted rings. You'll still find platinum, but it'll be less than you. What?
Landing coupler deactivated. Exit is clear.
Is there, Treason, is there any other ring in that system that may not be depleted? Although typically, when one ring is depleted, all the rings are depleted.
Four, three, two, one.
Very cool. Do you know what time it's happening? Because if it's happening during this stream, I'll play it on play it so we can watch. Yeah, if everything's depleted, you'll still get platinum in that ring, but it'll be at much lower percentages than you would get in something that has pristine reserves or even common reserves, as the case may be. Four hours from now. Well, I'll be off the air by then. But I can watch it later myself. Thanks for the heads up.
If you're gonna try to dodge, it's best to dodge out of the way.
Hey, Bucky, thank you very much for that resub. I appreciate the support, friend. Good morning to you. And here I thought we had common reserves in this system. I actually got major reserves. Okay, I went this side last time. I'm going to come over here this time.
Prospector limpet engaged.
6 platinum. I'll take that. Dulcimerist? No, not Dulcimerist. Treason. Do you know about the mining tool? Treason?
Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed.
That was a unique day, McLean.
Prospector limpet engaged.
I did not expect to see that type of a showing today. I was privileged to have a front page slot yesterday. And we got a fair number of followers from it, so hopefully new folks will tune in at times.
Asteroid depleted.
And I'm grateful to Twitch for giving me that opportunity. And what was nice is I got to show folks not only Elite, but MWO.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed.
That's unfortunate. I know that song, Grandizer, These Are the Days. Long time since I heard it, but I know the song.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Have some platinum in you. Good amount.
Prospector
None.
limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged.
We're in a dry zone here.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted.
Hey, Hindsight. Welcome. Welcome to those joining from your channel. Hope you had a good stream. Aloha, friend.
Prospector limpet failed.
Hey, Tragic Blue. Good to see you. Welcome.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Indeed.
Prospector limpet failed.
Hey, Nikki Dangerous. Welcome.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Understood. 2020. Have a great one, and thanks for bringing over your folks. And enjoy the sandwich. That's what I had for dinner last night, and it was quite good.
Mission objective detected. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed.
The sandwich I had was turkey and white American cheese. It's quite tasty.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet
I have to be careful with the amount of bread I eat, so I allow myself one sandwich a day. Everything else pretty much needs to be protein, or heavy on the protein. Anyway.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Hey, Lone
Prospector
Sniper,
limpet
welcome.
engaged.
This is just a bad section for me. Finding a decent rock once in a 10 hit. 1 rock out of 10 is giving me a decent amount of platinum. I should have brought more limpets.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid defeated. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
It takes me sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. Cruising. It depends on how my RNG is with the rocks.
Asteroid depleted.
Today, my RNG is not so good. Yesterday, it was incredible. Yesterday, it seemed I couldn't miss. Today, not so much.
Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet engaged. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet engaged. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet engaged.
Understood, Nolan Sniper. I hope you get better soon.
Prospect to limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet engaged. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet engaged. Prospect to limpet failed. Prospect to limpet
Hey, Solomon,
engaged.
thank you for that resub. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your support in all the ways you do.
engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Always got to keep the planet in front of me. If I fail to do that, I wander into places I shouldn't go.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
.79, that's a good rock. Haven't found a really good rock yet, though.
Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Oh, two right next to each other. Better than before.
Asteroid depleted.
So, Grandizer, as far as followers on Twitch, I've got about 13,400, and I have considerably less on YouTube. But I've only just recently begun to stream to YouTube, so that doesn't surprise me. I've been streaming on Twitch since 2016.
Prospect limpet failed.
Only recently have I been given permission to stream to multiple services at the same time.
Prospect limpet engaged. Prospect limpet failed. Prospect limpet engaged.
I'm not mining anything lower than 20%.
Asteroid depleted. Prospect limpet failed. Prospect limpet engaged.
Get my nose pointed back in the right direction.
Prospect limpet failed. Prospect limpet failed.
So, I used to be an NHL fan. And then they had that lockout in the 90s. And I kind of got frustrated with the whole player relations nonsense that was going on. So I haven't followed it since then.
Prospect limpet engaged.
But that's just me. My brother absolutely loves the St. Louis Blues. And I won't cheer against them, but it's not something I actively participate in. Not like the old days. Yeah, I figure as I stream more Grandizer that side will grow, especially because I can do higher quality to YouTube than I can to Twitch. But I'm grateful to everyone who's watching, regardless of platform. It's only through your viewership that I'm able to continue doing this. Since I started streaming on Twitch, it has paid for the internet that I use to stream our masses at church. So without the support I have from the people here on Twitch, I wouldn't be able to do this. Wouldn't be able to do my primary ministry as well as I am able to do it.
Prospect limpet failed.
And I've taken a small bit of that money and I bought a refurbished 3050 to go into the streaming PC over at church, so that I can get better sound quality using NVIDIA Broadcast to filter out some of the less helpful background noise.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Correct, Belsamarist. Although, you know, it's funny. This was a hobby that I picked up merely to encourage folks to play MWO, MechWarrior Online, which is the game I play on Mondays and Tuesdays, along with Elite. And to let folks know of my former unit called First Cruises Recon, that we were still a going concern,
Prospector limpet
and you should join us. That was my plans. But it's turned into so much more than I ever imagined it would be.
Prospector limpet failed.
And the support of the folks on Twitch and Patreon and other things have made it possible for me to do not only this,
Prospector limpet
but also to
engaged.
continue to broadcast our masses. In fact, I think I'm going to start broadcasting our daily masses. As often as I can, anyway.
Prospector limpet failed.
Speaking of which, what time is it? Oh. Plenty of time.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Finally, a 50 rock.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Yeah, Entail, there are 9 points now that you can scan at Jameson's Crash Cobra. So it is, without a doubt, the best place to pick up data in a quick fashion. Used to have 4, now it's got 9. I typically fill up after 2 relogs,
Failed.
if that long.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector
Happy to help.
limpet failed.
The other way you can get a lot of data, especially data mined wake exceptions, is finding a famine system and looking for a distribution center which has ships flying in and out of it, so you can scan their wakes to get information.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Scan the ships and scan their wakes. I'd take a very fast ship with long-range scanners.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Oops. Oh, come on. I hate it when my controller goes wonky.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. limpet engaged. Limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged.
It's warnings, and it depends on a lot of different factors. But normally we see half a dozen to... I've had as many as 15. But as I'm sure you can imagine, it depends on weather, it depends on work schedules. Another dry spot.
Prospector limpet engaged.
So close. Not close enough. Well, we don't do a lot of singing during the weekdays, unfortunately.
Prospector limpet engaged. Mission objective detected. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Let's move up to the next area. Get away from this dry spot if I can.
Cargo scoop retracted. Cargo scoop deployed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Just not a good area. Try this rock. If that doesn't work, we're going to go a couple kilometers from here.
Prospector limpet failed.
Try and find an active vein.
Prospector limpet engaged. Cargo field retracted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Cargo suit deployed. Prospector limpet failed.
Grandizer, there's always hope. You don't have to feel like you're going there.
Prospector limpet engaged.
We each have our own journey to carry.
Prospector limpet failed.
That doesn't mean we're destined to any particular place. The decisions we make, if they were more for self than others, well, that's an open question. But if we do for others as we would have them do unto us,
Prospector limpet engaged.
well, that's the way life is supposed to be. That's my understanding.
Prospector limpet failed.
Having a quirky personality is not necessarily. Let me rephrase that.
Engaged.
Having a quirky personality is not a prerequisite for going to the underworld.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
It's funny, Grandizer, I'm just now finishing a book on General U.S. Grant. I'm on a Civil War journey right now. Always loved the Civil
Prospector
War,
limpet
but
engaged.
really enjoying the last couple of books I've read.
Asteroid defeated. Prospector limpet engaged.
That's an ugly rock.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Better, much better.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid defeated. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. 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 Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Finally. It's actually looking like one of 15 rocks we're finding platinum with high enough percentage.
Asteroid defeated. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Oh, those alternate history alternate history drive me nuts. Harry Turtledove writes a whole bunch of those, and I will read for 5 minutes, and I throw the book up against the wall. I've broken more Kindles that way than I care to count.
Asteroid defeated.
As a trained historian, it just rankles me every time I hear those alternate histories.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed.
Yeah, Final Countdown. Great song and
Prospector
pretty good
limpet
movie,
engaged.
actually. What if an American supercarrier went back to fight the Japanese? Thing that I think they would have the most difficulties with would be
Prospector limpet
logistics.
engaged.
They wouldn't have to worry about fuel for the carrier, but you'd have to worry about jet fuel, munitions. Pearl Harbor wouldn't have happened the way it did, but the rest of the war, they'd run out of munitions and fuel.
Prospector limpet failed.
Yep, satellites wouldn't be there, although for air-to-air, you don't necessarily need that. And most, if not all, American aircraft
Prospector
can
limpet engaged.
navigate without the satellites. They can use the satellites, it makes things easier, but
Prospector limpet failed.
they're trained on how to navigate without our GPS aids.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed.
I don't know, Grandizer. It's one of those open questions that, you know, what would happen?
Prospector limpet failed.
The world was different enough with a fellow who knew history being left behind when the carrier jumped home.
Prospector limpet engaged.
How different the world must have been with just his influence. That was a great movie. Caused some problems for the Navy, though.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Now, the movie that really boosted the Navy was Top Gun. But Final Countdown had a positive effect as well.
Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged.
Good morning, Orden. And they almost didn't, Grandizer. If that coup that was set off just before the Emperor told his people that they needed to surrender, if that had taken place, we would have had to have would have had to have fought over the landing. I don't even want to think about how many people would have died
Pit failed.
if that had had to happen.
Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Well, at least I got over 200 platinum. Starting to run out of limpets.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed.
I start finding good rocks. I'm not going to fill up the cargo bay with this run.
Prospector limpet engaged.
That was not a good rock.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Hey, Top Cat. Good to see you.
Asteroid depleted.
Good morning to you.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted.
That's their actual color. I'm using night vision. Helps me to see the rocks a little bit easier.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged.
If I get to 300, I'll be lucky. course, now I've got Major Tom on my mind since I'm in space. Tomorrow morning, God willing, after the weekly tick.
Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed.
If I didn't think I would get hit by a DMCA strike, I would. Especially with the timbre of my voice today. It's a little rough.
Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Just missed it.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
I was thinking of both of them. But because he had mentioned David Bowie, that was the first one I thought of. But I remember Peter Schillen's version as well. I heard that one first, and then I heard Major Tom. The original.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Stuff I liked from the 70s is more like
Prospector limpet
the
engaged.
Eagles. Who else do I like from that era? Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And Young when he was part of the band.
Limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Johnny Cash was a legend. Amazing what he did.
Limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged. Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid depleted. Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
I find some good rocks here. I'm almost out of limpets. I'll have one more full load of
Prospector
collectors.
limpet failed.
Come on, be a 50 rock.
Prospector limpet
Yeah,
engaged.
24. Not quite what I want, but it'll do.
engaged.
Give me one last good rock, please.
Prospector limpet engaged.
Okay, rock. Oh wow, that's cool, Grandizer. Music of our youth often is very stirring to the heart.
Asteroid defeated.
I could listen to the Eagles' greatest hits, but then I also like, more modern music. One of my favorite bands was a composite band that came together
Prospector
late
limpet
80s,
failed.
GTR, which had Steve Hackett and Steve Howe. Amazing band. Some of my all-time favorite songs came from them.
Prospector limpet engaged. Asteroid defeated.
Be a good rock, please.
Prospector limpet failed. Prospector limpet engaged.
Yay, it's a good rock. 861 tons. That's not so bad. Depends on my mood. Sometimes I can listen to hard rock. Sometimes I'm listening to the Carpenters. Depends on my mood. Credence is a good one. There were so many good bands in the 70s. And one of my all-time favorites for their song Freebird was Leonard Skinner. That's another band. When I want to feel, I'm not sure exactly how to put this. When I want to challenge adversity, when I want to challenge the status quo, that song is kind of an anthem for me. Never heard of the band Status Quo. Yep. Oh, I've got a playlist for when I used to be able to run years ago.
Good to Maya, Sierra, Uniform Tango. Welcome to this Alliance facility, Commander. Hope we can be of service.
It started slow, then I'd get to Leave It by Yes. Then my last sprint was to The Eagle and the Hawk by John Denver. And then my slowdown was The River by Garth Brooks. But I'd start real slow and then build up to those two songs. Leave It got me into a sprint. The Eagle and the Hawk is where I would get into full speed. Then I'd slow down with The River. Man, those were the days when I could run.
Contact confirmation. You are cleared to disembark.
So 20 million. That's more than I earned yesterday. Price must have gone up. Which gets me
Message.
22,000 merits. Wow. Okay, folks, I have mass in a little more than a half hour from now. That means I need to pass you off to another streamer. Let me see who's on right now. I'm going to hand you off to Commander Orange Phoenix, who's currently streaming. Okay, I'm heading over to Commander Orange Phoenix. Please give him my regards. I want to say thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks to those with the follow button, sub button, rated the channel, or just for being here. Appreciate all the support. If you haven't already done so, please consider hitting the follow button. It'll let you know the next time online, which should be tomorrow morning at my regular time. Again, thanks to all for being here, and until next time, peace.